He left his safe open to test his maid. Her kindness left him in tears. Before you scroll, take a moment to subscribe. This story may change how you see kindness, courage, and respect forever. When Clara Jennings stepped into the Langston estate that cold October morning, the air itself felt heavy with silence, the kind that remembers too much. The old mansion stood still beneath a gray dawn, its velvet curtains drawn tight, the faint scent of polished wood and yesterday's cologne lingering like a memory that refused to fade. At 65, Clara had learned to move softly through other people's worlds, cleaning their mess, hearing their secrets, and leaving no trace of her own pain behind. To her, this house was just another place to serve. But to Edward Langston, the wealthy widower she'd worked for these last 3 years, it was a fortress built not of stone, but of loneliness. Everything about him, the perfect crease in his suits, the untouched order of his books, even the steady tick of that antique clock, whispered one truth. Behind all his wealth, the man trusted no one. And that morning, neither of them knew, one small act of kindness was about to change everything. Clara respected him deeply, even though he rarely smiled. For her, respect wasn't about status or wealth, it was about how you carried your heart, even when no one was watching. That morning, however, something was different. When she walked into the grand study to dust the shelves, she froze mid-step. The heavy steel safe in the corner, the one she had never seen open before, stood wide, its thick door ajar. Inside, stacks of cash, glittering jewelry, and silver heirlooms shimmered under the chandelier light. Her breath caught. It was like standing before temptation itself. For a moment, her mind swirled. Why is it open? Did Mr. Langston forget? What if someone else sees it? But then she remembered her father's words she'd lived by all her life. Integrity is what you do when no one's there to clap for you. She placed her duster down gently and stepped closer, not to touch but to guard. What Clara didn't know was that Edward Langston was watching from behind the half-open door of the adjoining library. He had left the safe open deliberately, a test, born not from cruelty, but from deep, gnawing loneliness and distrust. Years of betrayal, friends who'd used him, partners who'd cheated him, had turned him into a man who trusted no one. And now, he wanted to know if kindness and honesty still existed. Clara stood before the open safe, her eyes soft with concern, not greed. She sighed quietly, the kind of sigh only those who've seen much of life give, tired, but full of grace. Then, she did something that stopped Edward's heart. She pulled out a small notebook from her apron pocket and scribbled a note in her gentle handwriting. "Sir, I found the safe open while cleaning. I didn't touch anything. Please ensure it's locked before you leave again. Clara." She placed the note right at the edge of the safe door, in plain view, and turned away. But before she could take 2 steps, her reflection caught her eye in the mirror across the room. Her eyes glistened. Not with greed, but with sadness. Because she knew how it felt to be doubted. To be poor and assumed dishonest. To be invisible in a world that judged by uniforms, not hearts. She whispered softly to herself, "The world needs more kindness, not suspicion." And she left the room quietly, her old shoes tapping softly on the marble floor. Edward stood frozen, hidden in the shadows. His throat tightened. The paper note in her handwriting, so honest, so gentle, felt heavier than gold. But he wasn't ready to reveal himself. Not yet. He watched her move through the day. How she helped the gardener lift the watering cans without being asked. How she stopped to tie a loose shoelace for the delivery boy. How she smiled at the cook and thanked her for every cup of tea. Every gesture small, yet radiant with kindness. By noon, Edward felt something he hadn't felt in years: guilt. He had set a trap for the only person in his house who treated him with genuine respect. That evening, he called her into the study. "Clara," he said, his deep voice low and uneasy. "Did you notice anything unusual this morning?" She looked at him gently. "Yes, sir. The safe was open. I thought you might have forgotten." He studied her face. No nervousness, no guilt. Just quiet sincerity. "Did you look inside?" "I looked long enough to make sure it was safe, sir," she said softly, a faint smile in her eyes. "I didn't want anyone else to take advantage of the mistake." There was silence. Edward's chest felt tight. He turned, picked up the note she had written, and placed it gently on his desk. "I saw everything," he said. Clara blinked. "Sir." I left it open on purpose, he confessed. I wanted to see what you'd do. I'm sorry, Clara. I shouldn't have tested your honesty. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then Clara, in her quiet, graceful way, simply said, "Sometimes, sir, the world forgets that kindness doesn't need to be tested. It just needs to be believed." Edward lowered his head, his voice trembling. "You're right. I've spent a lifetime building walls instead of trust. You've taught me more about respect than all the men I've ever done business with." If Clara's courage and kindness touched your heart, don't scroll away. Take a moment to subscribe, share this story, and remind the world that respect and goodness still matter. Over the next few weeks, everything changed in that mansion. Edward began to smile more. The cold air in the house softened. He joined Clara and the staff for tea breaks. He even asked her about her late husband, and listened. One day, he found her in the garden, her hands covered in soil as she planted new flowers near the fence. "Clara," he said quietly, "you've worked for me for 3 years. You've cared for this place as if it were your own. I'd like you to stop cleaning floors and start managing this estate." She looked up, shocked. "Sir, I'm just a maid." He smiled, a real smile this time. "No, Clara. You're a teacher of morals, and I've been your slowest student." Tears filled her eyes. "Sir, I just do what's right." "And that," he said, "is what makes you priceless." Months passed. Visitors noticed how different Edward Langston had become. The man once known for his sharp tongue now offered warmth and patience. He donated to charities quietly, often sending Clara to deliver the envelopes. When people asked why, he'd simply say, "Because someone once showed me what kindness looks like, when no one was watching." The final test of courage came one rainy evening. Edward fell ill. Fevered, weak, and bedridden, he asked for Clara. She came immediately, wrapping his hand in hers. "You'll be fine, sir," she whispered. "You just need rest." He looked at her through tired eyes. "Clara, if I don't wake up tomorrow, promise me you'll keep being kind, even to those who don't deserve it." Her tears slipped down her face. "Sir, kindness isn't about who deserves it. It's about who needs it." He smiled faintly. "Then the world still has hope." The next morning, sunlight poured into the room. Edward was gone. Peaceful. A soft smile still resting on his lips. Beside him on the nightstand was a sealed letter addressed to her. "To Clara Jennings, who reminded me that integrity is richer than gold, and kindness is the courage of the heart. Thank you for showing me that respect isn't earned through power, but through love. The estate, the staff, and a lifetime of gratitude are yours." When Clara read those words, she wept, not for the fortune, but for the man who had finally found peace. She walked to the study, now filled with sunlight, and looked once more at that great steel safe. It stood open again, but this time, not as a test. Inside, she placed the letter he had written her and whispered, "You finally understood, sir. Kindness was the real treasure all along." If this story moved your heart, share it. Comment what kindness means to you. And please subscribe, because stories like these remind the world that courage, respect, and love are still alive.